The world has just been shaken by a bombshell revelation. An official statement has been released about the arrest of the young woman many believe to be Madeleine McCann. But what exactly was revealed? Does this statement finally put an end to the mystery, or does it open an even more disturbing new chapter? The truth might be more shocking than you can imagine. Once again, the world has stopped in its tracks because of the Madeleine McCann case. An official statement has just been published and could change everything we thought we knew about the arrest of Julia Wendell, the Polish young woman who claimed to be Madeleine. But what exactly was revealed? Will this mystery finally be solved, or are we looking at an even more troubling new chapter? Imagine following a case for years, witnessing countless twists and turns, and just when it seems everything might be over, a new revelation emerges that completely changes the story's course. That's exactly what has happened now. Julia Wendell was arrested, and instead of that being the definitive answer, new questions have started to appear. If DNA tests had already proven she wasn't Madeleine, why did she keep insisting on this story until the very last moment? What happened behind the scenes that led to her arrest? And above all, what was said in that official statement that brought this case back into the world's headlines? It looked like this story was coming to a close, but with every new detail revealed, the mystery has only grown bigger. Now we're facing something that might change everything we believed about this case. Before we reveal the statement's contents, we need to understand what brought Julia Wendell to this point and why this statement might be the missing piece of this puzzle. For a long time, the Madeleine McCann case had been thoroughly analyzed and discussed. When Julia Wendell came forward, claiming to be the missing girl, many were skeptical, but to everyone's surprise, she managed to draw worldwide attention and even mobilized experts to investigate her story. Then came the major twist. DNA tests were carried out and the results were clear. Julia was not Madeleine McCann. That should have been the end of the story, but it wasn't. Instead of accepting reality and moving on, Julia disappeared from the internet. No new videos, no updates, nothing. Just silence. Until weeks later came the bombshell. Julia Wendell had been arrested. What makes everything even stranger is that this arrest shouldn't have been necessary. If everything was already settled, why did the police need to take action? And why did the authorities feel the need to issue an official statement about it? Something isn't adding up. This case has shaken the media and rekindled doubts many had long set aside. What once seemed like a mere curious internet story turned into a global controversy. And now Julia Wendell's arrest raises a new question. Did she cross a line in trying to prove her theory? Or is there something we still don't know? What's most alarming is how the internet helped amplify this confusion. From the start, millions of people followed Julia, analyzing every detail of her story, creating theories, and spreading unverified information. In a way, this case became a dangerous reflection of the world we live in, where rumors can come to life on their own, and the truth can be twisted until it becomes unrecognizable. If Julia truly believed she was Madeleine, how far was she willing to go to prove it? If she knew she wasn't, then why did she persist with this narrative to the point of being arrested? These are questions that this official statement might finally answer, or perhaps only bring up even more doubts. Julia Wendell always claimed to have fragmented memories, flashes of a past that didn't make sense. She felt something was off about her own story, and for months she dedicated herself to finding answers. Her face appeared in headlines, her story was debated on TV shows, and her search for the truth became a public obsession. But when it seemed that everything was about to be clarified, everything changed. Silence took over her social media. Not a word, not a video, no explanation. Then her arrest was announced, and the world realized that this case was far from over. Now, the official statement has finally come to light to explain what really happened. But does this statement end the case once and for all? Or does it merely raise more questions? The truth is about to be revealed. What exactly was said in that statement? Was this arrest a mistake, a strategy, or the definitive end to this controversy? Get ready, because the details of this statement may change everything you thought you knew about this case. Julia Wendell's silence was the first sign that something strange was happening. After months of putting forth her theory and insisting she was Madeleine McCann, suddenly everything stopped. No new videos, took everyone by surprise. Nothing. Julia had been arrested, but the question no one could answer was why. Authorities revealed that Julia had been detained for harassment and harmful behavior toward the McCann family. This means she crossed the line between speculation and obsession. But what exactly did she do to get to this point? According to reports, Julia tried to contact Kate and Jerry McCann directly multiple times. She sent messages, created fake profiles, tried to talk to Madeleine's siblings, But the worst was yet to come. Days before her arrest, witnesses claimed Julia traveled to the United Kingdom and began frequenting places associated with the McCann case. She asked locals questions, tried to find out where the family lived, and even followed leads which in her mind might prove she was right. By that time, the police were already monitoring her. Her behavior had gone from mere speculation to something that could put people at risk. And when she was arrested at Bristol Airport, it seemed that everything was finally spiraling out of control. But the most intriguing aspect wasn't the arrest itself. It was the official statement that followed. What did the authorities reveal in this communique? Does it solve the case or just raise even more doubts? The answer is closer than ever. But before we analyze what was said, we need to understand how the internet played a crucial role in turning this case into something far bigger than anyone imagined. The internet has terrifying power. When Julia Wendell first appeared, claiming to be Madeleine McCann, the reaction was immediate. Millions of people started analyzing her features, comparing details, creating theories. In a short time, the case went viral, and Julia went from an unknown young woman to a household name all over the world. But that kind of exposure can be a one-way street. The moment her story gained traction, she no longer had control over her narrative. Forums, YouTubers, independent journalists, everyone had an opinion on who she was and what she wanted. That's how Julia, encouraged by the attention she was getting, kept insisting even when DNA tests showed she wasn't Madeleine. And the scariest part? The more evidence went against her story, the more support she got from certain groups who believed there was a conspiracy behind it all. Then came the turning point. Julia's sudden disappearance from social media raised suspicions. Some people began speculating she might be silenced. Others believed it was all a marketing ploy to draw even more attention. But then, her arrest confirmed that something much bigger was happening behind the scenes. The question that still hasn't been fully answered is, did Julia really believe it all? Or did she get lost in her own lies? The official statement gives us some answers, but it also opens new questions. Does this arrest mean the end of the story? Or are we only at the beginning of something even more intriguing? Now let's break down every detail of the official statement to understand what it really reveals about Julia Wendell's fate. The news of Julia Wendell's arrest had already caught the world off guard, but it was the authorities' official statement that truly left everyone in shock. The document not only confirmed her detention, but also laid out the charges against her: harassment and harmful behavior toward the McCann family. What does that actually mean? Investigations revealed that Julia didn't just send insistent messages to the McCanns. She attempted direct contact, created fake profiles to speak with Madeleine's siblings, and even traveled to the United Kingdom. What once seemed like just a curious internet story had now become a real problem for the McCann family. The statement made it clear that Julia had crossed the line between free speech and personal investigation. But it also raised another question. Did she act alone, or were there other people involved? At the police station, Julia didn't appear nervous. On the contrary, by some accounts, she was calm, even smiling faintly when she heard the charges against her. When an officer asked if she understood why she was being arrested, she simply replied, "They're afraid." Afraid of what? Of whom? Julia never explained, but that answer was enough to spark even more theories. Some believe she really does know something that was kept from the public. Others think she could no longer distinguish reality from fiction. What's strangest of all is that, even with the official statement, several questions remain unanswered. Why did Julia disappear from the internet days before her arrest? If she knew she was under surveillance, why did she insist on this story until the very end? This statement clarified some points but also paved the way for new doubts. And what followed was even more surprising. What drives a person to insist on something when all the evidence just a young woman obsessed with a famous case? Or she might have genuinely believed she was Madeleine McCann. But how does that happen? Psychology explains that memories can be shaped by external influence. People exposed to a narrative for a long time can start believing it's true, even if it never happened. That might have been what happened with Julia. The more she talked about it, the more support she got online, the more her mind accepted her version as reality. But there's another explanation. Julia might have been motivated by something simpler: the media's attention. She knew the McCann case was one of the world's most talked about mysteries and realized that associating herself with it would give her instant prominence. The problem is that by taking this story too far, she crossed a dangerous line. The internet had a key role in all of this. The quest for engagement creates an environment where any story can grow, spread, and become uncontrollable. Julia was boosted by supporters who rejected the DNA results and continued encouraging her quest, reinforcing the idea that she was right. In the end, we're left wondering, was Julia a victim of her own mind, a manipulator who didn't know when to stop, or a product of our digital age, where anyone can become the protagonist of a major mystery? The truth may lie in the official statement, or maybe there are still secrets no one is willing to reveal. And the question remains, does this arrest end the case, or is it just the beginning of something bigger? The official statement seemed to put a period at the end of the story. Julia Wendell was in custody, charged with harassment and harmful behavior toward the McCann family. But did that really mean the definitive end of this mystery? Inside the police station, Julia kept quiet. Her eyes scanned the cold room as if she was waiting for something to happen. When one of the investigators asked if she had anything to say, she took a deep breath and calmly replied, "I just wanted people to know the truth." But what truth is that? The police have made it clear that there's no evidence linking Julia to the McCann case. She wasn't Madeleine and never had been. Even so, some of her supporters still believe her arrest was a way to silence her. Online forums and discussion groups continue to speculate. Could Julia have found out something she wasn't supposed to? Is there a conspiracy behind her detention? In reality, things were much more straightforward. As more details emerged, it became clear that Julia had crossed the line. Her obsession led her to break boundaries she shouldn't have. And ultimately, all she achieved was to turn an already painful mystery into a fresh controversy. Police maintained their stance. Julia Wendell had no connection with Madeleine McCann's disappearance. But despite the clarity of the statement, many people still refuse to accept this conclusion. So the question remains, does the truth matter when so many people have already decided what they want to believe? Julia Wendell's case has become a perfect example of how the internet can amplify stories to the point where nobody can tell fact from theory anymore. Kate and Jerry McCann have spent years dealing with false hopes and baseless theories regarding their missing daughter. Julia's case was just one more episode in a long string of frustrations and misinformation, and now they have to deal with the impact of yet another scandal that has reignited a pain they hoped had settled. As for Julia, she faces an uncertain future. Her arrest might mark the end of her search for answers, or it could be the start of a new phase of her obsession. Will she finally accept reality, or continue insisting she was the victim of something bigger? And what about the public? This story demonstrated the power of speculation and the danger of unchecked information. It showed how a narrative can grow and take on uncontrollable proportions. But above all, it revealed something troubling. For many people, the mystery is more interesting than the truth. In the end, it wasn't justice that sealed Julia Wendell's fate. It was the internet, which made her the protagonist of a drama that should never have existed. And maybe that's the biggest lesson from all of this. Are we actually interested in the truth, or do we just love a good mystery? Julia Wendell's arrest and the official statement seem to close this chapter for good. But have they really? For some, this was yet another example of how internet theories can spiral out of control. For others, there are still unanswered questions. After all, if everything was so clear, why does this story continue to cause such a stir? All of this shows that, in today's world, the truth often doesn't matter as much as the story people choose to believe. Julia Wendell wasn't Madeleine McCann, but her belief or narrative to the bitter end. And the internet magnified it all, turning the case into a global spectacle. That's the real danger. The speed at which information circulates means that many times, rumors can seem more real than facts. And this didn't just happen to Julia. We've seen it in many other cases. The public wants answers, and when they don't arrive fast enough, people create their own versions of the story. Kate and Jerry McCann have spent years dealing with this kind of situation. Madeleine's disappearance became one of the world's most widely discussed cases, and with that came theories, suspicions, and baseless accusations. Now, even after so many years, new controversies keep popping up, rekindling the pain of a family that just wanted real answers. So here's the question. Why are we still so fascinated by this case? Do we really want the truth, or are we just drawn to the mystery? That's the warning sign here. Julia Wendell's case proves how easy it is for anyone to become the central figure of a never-ending story. How a few words said at the right moment can completely shift public perception. And how, very often, what seems like a major secret might just be an illusion fueled by the desire to believe in something bigger. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you think Julia's arrest really ends this story? Or are there still unanswered questions? Leave your comment and tell me what you think about it. And if you're into investigations like this, there's another case you need to check out. A mystery that seems solved, but might hold more hidden secrets than we ever imagined. Click on the next video to discover the truth behind the shocking story. Oh, and before you go, if this case intrigued you, there's a book you have to read. It talks about how memories can be distorted and how people can come to believe in something that never really happened. It's scary to realize how the human mind can create parallel realities. I've left the link in the first pinned comment. Take a look and let me know what you think. And if you watched all the way through, comment, "I see beyond the headlines," so I'll know you followed this story to the end.